Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be creating this look right here. Mainly, I am going to be talking to you about this crazy book I read. It is just so wild. So if you want to see how I create this look and hear about the book, then please keep on watching. So this book, it's called The Perfect Marriage, right? So it involves two main people in this book. It goes between their two perspectives. The wife, her name is Sarah, and she's a lawyer. She's a defense lawyer, and she is a partner in her firm because she's really like, she doesn't lose a case. She's pretty good at her job. So then there's also Adam. That's Sarah's husband, and he is an author. Okay, so he writes books for a living. And Adam, he hasn't made any like a major book selling since his last book, which was like 4 years ago now. So basically, Sarah's the one that really is kind of the head of the household, right? So she's the one that like bought a lake house for Adam, well, for them, but mainly for Adam, so he can concentrate his on his writing, so that way he's like away from like the city and he can like just focus on that. And the place where this lake house is at is like a small town around there, right? So what he does is he goes to a coffee shop one day and he meets a woman named Kelly Summers. So from that meeting, he's kind of like, I would say, like in awe of her. Like he found her really beautiful, and there's something about her that captivates him really. That's what he mentions. So from that first encounter, they go to back to his lake house and they hook up. All right. So that's when he starts the affair. Okay. So after that, one night she comes by to the lake house after her shift at the coffee shop, like she always does, like whenever he's there. And they drink scotch and they kind of talk about the day and they hook up, right? And then, like in the middle of the night, Adam wakes up and he has to get up to go back to his house, um, just so he can be with his wife. Before he leaves, though, he does like write a note for Kelly. He writes down, Kelly, like, I know how this story is gonna end. It's always been you. I choose you. And he says, love, Adam. And then he puts PS, make sure you leave before the maid gets here at 8. So leave before that time. He drives, and it's like about an hour or so drive back to his house. And he wakes up in the morning. His wife is gone. Sarah's gone. She went to work, and he hears a knock at the door. Right. So there's two cops at the door, two sheriffs to be exact, and they start questioning Adam about his whereabouts. The night before. Well, that night. And Adam is kind of like wondering why is he's getting questioned, and he like asks like, what is this about, like what is this regarding, right? And then they don't really respond to his question, and so he kind of gets upset because then he starts thinking about like, oh, did something happen to his wife, right? And he's freaking out because he's just like, oh my gosh, like I hope like nothing bad happens, is this what's pertaining? And he's getting like very like aggressive, right? So the cops, even though he was getting aggressive, he didn't like lunge towards them or anything, but like they are aggressive towards him. So they bring him down and they handcuff him and they take him to the station. So from there, they basically tell him, all right, so the reason you're here is because your maid found your mistress dead in your bed. She was stabbed 37 times, okay? 37 times. So what does that mean? It was a crime of passion, correct? So that means when it's a crime of passion, that means like it's something personal. Like it's personal to that person that killed them. All right? So that is a little clue right there. Um, he is like just shocked at this, right? Because obviously he left her just like hours before, and everything was fine, right? So he's just like, what? So he's like, you know what, I need to make a phone call. Like, I need a phone call, which you have the right to, right? So they're like, all right. So they let him go make a phone call. He goes ahead. He's trying to get in contact with his wife, Sarah, but she doesn't answer because she's at work and she's in a meeting. So the next person he calls is his mom. His mom picks up, and he tells his mom, like, hey mom, like, I'm at the police station, like, something happened, right? So she, hangs up. She gets in contact with Sarah. She tells her, like, my son has been trying to call you this whole time. He's in the police station. Why haven't you answered his phone call? And Sarah is just like, wait, what? What's going on? And so she hangs up. Sarah goes ahead and she goes to the police station because she's like, oh, what is going on, right? So she goes ahead. She goes to a police station. She lets the police officer know, like, hey, my name is Sarah Morgan. I'm here for my husband. And she was like telling them, like, what is going on? Like, why is he, like, being interrogated, and why is he, like, here, right? And they tell her, they're kind of like a little, like, kind of feel a little pity for her because, like, they have to reveal, everything just that went down, right? So they let her know, like, your husband is being accused for murdering his mistress. So this is when, like, Sarah finds out, like, her husband has been cheating on her, right? Because she didn't know. And so she's just like, what? And they're like, yes, the maid found her in your guys' bed just a couple hours ago, and she was stabbed to death. And so Sarah is just like, all right, I need to talk to my husband. So they let her through, and he kind of, like, is happy to see her, but also, like, the fact that, like, he has to now tell her, yeah, he was having an affair. So Sarah is she's trying to, like, hone in on her emotions because she's like, okay, right now the main thing is that her husband is being accused of murdering this woman, and she's just trying to understand, like, everything that's going on. Like, just imagine as a wife, like, the whole process of, like, what it feels like that this is just happening, like, this is going on, right? So she tells him, like, listen, Adam, this is not looking good because your DNA is all over her, correct? Obviously, because he just spent the night with her, and they're accusing him of murdering her because also they found her in their, like, lake house. So she's like, listen, like, I'm gonna have to know what exactly went on that night, like, know, like, when you met her, like, how you met her, how long has this been going on. And he is kind of reluctant to tell her because, like, he knows, like, him telling her the details of everything is gonna hurt her. Like, there's just no way, like, she's just gonna be, oh, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. So, but he obviously still tells her everything because, like, she's letting him know, like, listen, I am the best thing you got in getting you out of this mess. And he tells her everything, tells her, like, I met her at the coffee shop, and then that they've been having an affair for, like, a year and a half now. And I was like, okay, try to just think about everything that's happened, like, about that night, especially, like, was someone there? Was there another person there with you guys, like, that day? And he's like, no, it's just us. We just had sex a couple of times and just knocked out, and then I woke up and I drove back to you, right? She tells him, all right, well, you're gonna stay here and I'm gonna have to come back, basically. So she goes, and that's when she starts, trying to figure everything else. The sheriff that is part of this case tells her, like, if she wants, he can take her to the lake house so she can look around to see if she notices anything that's off about it, is anything missing or anything that's misplaced or anything, like, odd. So she goes ahead and she goes to the lake house, and she just tries to look around. And honestly, she only been to that lake house, like, maybe twice. So the first time when they first purchased it, and then the second time when, I don't know, like, just a moment that she was able to get away with her husband for a bit. But she honestly never really goes there. So she honestly wouldn't really know if anything is misplaced. But, obviously, just to look at the crime scene. She kind of wanted to just check everything out. All right, so there's this desk that she bought her husband, and at this desk there's like a little drawer, kind of like hidden. She opens it up, and then in there is a photograph, and then it's the photograph is of her husband and his mistress. So it's Adam and Kelly embraced, like kissing. In the back of that photograph it says like, end it or I will. And so obviously that note seems like very threatening, right? So she shows it to the sheriff there that's with her, and so they, take like that as evidence. And from there she goes back to her office. She's trying to figure out everything about this woman Kelly specifically, so she can find out if she had any enemies, any people that want to potentially hurt her and be the one that kills her, right? So she tells her assistant Anne about like, okay, please make sure you find every information you can about this woman. She goes back to Adam at the police station and tasks him like, okay, well, we're gonna have like that little court hearing before, and like the judge will say whether she allows you to go back home, but obviously if there's gonna be bail or not, and how much the bail is gonna be. So that is happening, right? At the same time, then the mom comes. She finally arrives from what other state she's in, and she's just like, you can tell she's a mom that like she sees her son can do no wrong. She's one of those moms, and she definitely does not like Sarah. She like goes ahead and she starts accusing Sarah of like, if you were a good mother, not good mother, if you were a good wife, he would have never cheated on you, and this would never be going on. Which I'm like, girl, you crazy. Like that how can you blame her for her son to cheat on her? You know what I mean? Like what? So but she, just so you know, she's that kind of mom. Once they have that court hearing, the judge does let Adam go on, and then the bail is at 500,000. So Sarah goes ahead and pays all that, and then Adam goes ahead and he stays at the lake house. But he has a ankle monitor on him, so like, he can't leave. Yes, he's on house arrest. So as this is all going on, Sarah is still doing her own investigating, trying to figure everything out. She goes to the coffee shop that Kelly works, and she talks to the other girl that works there as well. To ask her if she can ask her a couple questions about Kelly. Brenda goes ahead and she sits down with her and answers any questions that Sarah has. So Sarah asks, did you see Kelly with any men around, like any people? And she's like, yeah, I saw her with this one guy. He's an author, and his name is Adam. And also I've seen her with her husband, his name is Scott. One thing I totally forgot to talk about is, again, Scott. So Scott is Kelly's husband, and he's actually a cop. So Adam is, when he first got arrested, he definitely was trying to say that like, you should look into Kelly's husband, because Kelly has told Adam that he's abusive, and like she was kind of scared of him. But the thing was hard about like going after Scott is, yeah, because he's a cop, but also like Kelly never put in any like formal, what are those called, where like you go to the police, like any claims against him. So it's kind of hard to prove that he was actually like physically abusive. So but yeah, and then Sarah asked her like, well, has there any other like any other male been around? And Brenda does mention this one man. His name is Jesse, and she said like he would come here all the time when Kelly would work. And actually Kelly would mention to her that like he makes her a bit uncomfortable. Sarah tells her thank you. She leaves, and she tries to get the cops to like bring him in and get his DNA, because when the autopsy comes back of like her death and everything like that, on all the DNA that she has on her, she has 3 different type of DNAs in her. So that means there's 3 different guys that she was sleeping with. So one was of Scott's, the other one was Adam's, and then there's this third one that they don't know about. So that is why she was trying to figure out, Sarah was trying to figure out who it was. So she goes to the police and she tells them like, listen, this guy seems like a person of interest because he kind of seemed like more of a stalker towards Kelly. So the police do bring him in, they question him, but like he just seems like a weirdo. He just seems like someone that was like into Kelly, but like not they were nothing, like it was never nothing there. So they do go ahead and get his DNA, but he isn't a match for that third DNA, right? So they let him go. So now Sarah again is back on square one, trying to figure out like who is that third person, because she's trying to get this third person so she can like try to pin it on that one person, right? So as this all going on, Adam is still, at the lake house, and he's getting a little like frustrated with everything because nothing is really going on, as in like no one is telling him anything. No one is like really, there's no progress to this case. It's still like everyone's eyes is on him, like making it seem like he's the one that did kill Kelly. So he tries to do his own investigating as well. And the way he does that is because one day a reporter comes to his house and tells him like, hey, I just want to ask a couple questions. Like, I work at this, publishing house. And he tells her like, yes, I'll tell you everything going on around this case if you help me in figuring certain things out. So they kind of like exchange that kind of a transaction. And so he tells her like, hey, try to look into Scott. She's like, try to look into Scott, which is Kelly's ex-husband. But also another thing was because of them digging through Kelly, they find out that she in the past has been married to this other man who was killed, and so she was in the trial for killing her first husband, right? So now they're like thinking like maybe like some sort of family member from her first husband, maybe this is their revenge, like they wanted to kill her for killing the first husband, right? So the reporter goes ahead and she tries to find out information about like her family and stuff like that, because maybe it was one of them, right? And the reporter comes back and she gives him the information, and basically she tells him like, listen, so she found that the husband had like a cousin, but she's living her life and like has kids and everything like that, so they don't think it was him. Well, they don't think it was her. Then there's the parents, but they're like 70 plus years old, so like they doubt that like they would have anything to do with it. And then they mention a brother, so they try to look into him, and the brother's name is Nicholas Robert Miller. And so they try to track a Nicholas Robert Miller to see like if like where exactly he is and if he knows anything about it, right? So the reporter goes back and tries to find that information, and then she comes back to Adam and tells him like, well, he lives I want to say like 2 hours, right, from where they are at. And so she comes up with a whole like list of like names, so he can figure out like who it is. And then at the same time this is going on, so Sarah, the wife, she's trying to figure out more information about, again, this third person. But she's not really getting anywhere, to be honest with you. And so one day, though, Adam calls up every single person in that list that he got, and he just doesn't find anyone that like could be a match for it. So he gets frustrated, right? At the same time, so they're like trying to look through stuff, and he looks at this one image that was taken of him and Kelly one day, and it's that threatening kind of photograph of saying like, "And it I will." And so he sees that, and then he has this box of like evidence from the whole case, and on that box it says like evidence for case Adam Morgan. And he looks at that and he sees those both writings, and he realizes they're like the same writing. And that person who wrote on that was Annie, which is Sarah's assistant. So he just goes like completely mad. Seems like he just sees red at that moment, because then he's like, oh my gosh, it was her. So he goes ahead and takes the reporter's keys, and he just bugs it. He takes her car and everything. She kind of just screams after him like, what are you doing, but like he goes. So he goes to the office of where Sarah works, basically like goes at Annie, and he just like, he seems crazy, honestly. If like anyone saw him, like they would be like, what the hell is going on, you know? And so he just like yells at her like, you fake, and like, you killed Kelly, and blah blah blah. And like, so then Sarah comes out and she's like, what is going on? So Annie confesses like, yes, I'm the one that took that photo, but I didn't kill Kelly. I took that photo because I wanted you to like stop seeing Kelly because you were cheating on Sarah. And like, Annie and Sarah are really close. Like, Annie really does look up to Sarah. Annie like sees her more of a friend than anything like that. And so she was like, you know, that's the only reason I sent that note, but it wasn't like a threatening note. You know, I know what it looks like. It does look bad, but like, I swear to you, I didn't mean it in that way. And so Sarah kind of gets hurt though, because like, how as a friend you didn't tell me that my husband was cheating on me? Like, how, why didn't you tell me this when you found out? You know what I mean? Annie just gets like sad, you know, like she's just like crying. She's like, I'm so sorry, like I didn't mean to hurt you or anything like that. At the same time, when all of this commotion is going on, Adam sees this one guy, right? He's another lawyer at that firm that works with Sarah. And he looks at him and he's just like trying to remember where he's seen that guy. Like, he feels like he recognizes that guy from somewhere else, somewhere else. And that is when it clicks to him that like, he's the brother, remember? That Bob, well, that's his name, but his real name is Nicholas Robert Miller. And so they like, he just realizes, oh my god, that's the brother of Kelly's first husband. So he automatically already points the finger at him, saying like, oh my god, it like, you were the one that killed her. And it was just like, I remember reading this part, I'm not gonna lie, it was just funny to me because I was just like, this was just so chaotic. I was just like, he's just pointing the finger at everybody and anyone at this point. And then again, what ends up happening is obviously because like, remember, Adam has his ankle monitor thing, so so the cops come and they're all like guns blazing, being like, everybody don't move and stuff like that. They just take everybody to the police station. They take Adam, they take Annie, they take Robert or Bob, sorry. And so Robert and Annie are gonna be interrogated. So Annie's like crying because she's just like, you know, obviously, like she's like, I didn't do it, I'm so sorry. And she feels more sad because Sarah obviously is like more upset with her for the fact that like, she never told her that her husband was cheating on her. Annie gets interrogated, but she has an alibi for that night. She was with Sarah that night of the murder. They both went out to drink. And then Rob, he was out of the state because of like, for work. Like, he was like away for 2 weeks. So it wasn't him either. So now we're just like, again, like, okay, so it's none of them. Like, who was it, right? At the end, so like, obviously because Adam was on house arrest and he, you know, went off like he did, he's in jail now. And at this point, they're gonna like process him and everything like that, and they're gonna go to court officially, right? Annie goes ahead, does her opening statement saying like, yes, Adam is guilty of lying and cheating on me. But one thing he's not guilty of is murdering this woman that he did love and have an affair with. And then that's it. That's basically all they mentioned. And then the next chapter was, it skips to 11 years later, and the jury found Adam guilty. All right. So he's in jail, and Sarah mentions that she stopped visiting Adam after the first few years of his prison time because he just became really, how would you say, like aggressive, but like just like antsy and like depressed, and like he would just like go off on her every time like she would tell him like, no, I don't have no new leads, you know, like he would get mad and upset. So the day she does go to visit him, okay, after this 11 years, is the day that they were going to finally give him the lethal injection because he got the death penalty. She tells him like, you know, like just basically for like support sort of. And he tells her like, did you find anything new? And again, she's just like a little annoyed and frustrated because she's like, no, Adam, and even if I did find anything new, like this is not going to stop the whole process of just, like you going through with this right now, And so he kind of gets mad, a little bit, and then he reels it in. And then he kind of starts apologizing to her, saying, like, I'm so sorry that I put you through this, that I put us through this. Like, we were going to start a family together. And, he basically just screwed it up, right? They're holding hands at this time, and she's just like squeezing him. There's just like she's just squeezing his hand, like not saying anything because obviously what he's saying is true. Like he did ruin what they had together, for a quick something with another woman. When he's done talking and everything like that, she just tells him like, well, like things are done, it is what it is. Like just don't think about it kind of thing. So she gets up, she leaves. And then Adam gets taken to this room where they're gonna give him the dose, where they kill him. And in this situation, there's like this mirrored glass, and like behind is people that are there to witness his death and his final moments of life. And so his mom is there and Sarah is there watching. His mom is crying and Sarah is just there watching him. And now we're in this perspective of Adam, and Adam is just like thinking about like, how is this possible? How is I'm gonna die for the murder that I did not commit, right? He's like thinking that, and he's thinking about his wife and thinking about like the moment he met her and how she was just like such a like calm person and like very like collective and like very like not controlling as in like yelling at people, but like she's very in control, and like she knows when she's patient and she knows when to like go after what she wants. He's thinking about her and just all that, and then like they finally inject him with the dosage, and then he's thinking about how Sarah, she's always been so smart, she's always been ahead of the game, she's always like just known what is going on. It's like super smart, super observant. There you go. Very observant and stuff. And like nothing can get past her. And that is when he gets that, I guess, epiphany, I would say. He just thinks that like, oh my God, Sarah. Like it was her the whole time. It was her. Like she was the one that killed Kelly. And then all of a sudden, like that's when he just like everything goes blank because he's dead. And then it goes back to the perspective of Sarah, and she's just like smiling almost. Like she's smiling at the last breath that he takes, and she talks about how everything went down. So basically Bob finds out that her husband is having an affair with this girl, with Kelly. He actually goes ahead and he tells Sarah about the affair, kind of to rub it in, because there was always a competition between them. And so he went there to rub it in. But mind you, it seemed like Sarah didn't really care that much. Like she was hurt by it, but she was just like, all right, well, she was more like, I guess, angry, I would say, because she decides to, both Bob and her decide to kill Kelly and plant it on her husband. That is when, everything went down. So Bob does go away on business. So Sarah is the one that goes ahead and plans this whole thing. So she makes sure she goes ahead and drugs Kelly. And also her husband was drugged too that night because she put drugs in the scotch that they were drinking. And so then she goes ahead and goes to the lake house and she puts a tarp over Adam. And then that is when she just goes for it. She starts like literally stabbing Kelly to death. She cleans up the mess and she goes back home, right? And so that's basically what happened. Like that's what she did. But she did find out who that third set of DNA was in her. And it was the lead sheriff of that county. He also was having an affair with her. Crazy. Well, okay, and then it mentions like why she did it, okay? So the reason why she did it is because she said like, if we get a divorce, if she gets a divorce from Adam, Adam was going to take half of her money. The money that she earned all on her own, all that hard work, all the studying, all that late hours at the office, it was all her, and she didn't want to give Adam a single of it. Which I'm like, what the hell? Like, you are crazy. Like, you are legit crazy. Like, I get it. Like, yeah, it sucks that someone cheated on you and like you have to get a divorce and like, you know, they take half, but like to kill someone, and then frame that, like that is just diabolical. Like you're not a good person at all. Like no, like I was like so shocked when I like that all happened. I was just like, that is insane. That is insane. Like she is not okay. Like she is not okay, obviously. And what the whole ending part though is like her leaving the place where Adam was killed, and she gets in the car and she gets, so like the person that's driving is Bob. So her and Bob got together and they have a child together as well. And that is how it ends. Crazy, crazy ass story for sure. I was just like, I give it a 9.5 to be honest with you, because I was just like, listen, like it just sucks because it is in the perspective of Sarah and Adam, and I'm like, damn it, there are like small little clues that it was her, but like it wasn't like super like obvious in your face, but like definitely I was like thinking like, I didn't think it was the husband. I didn't think it was Scott. I didn't think it was the assistant. I didn't really think it was Bob either. But like, I was like, who is it? Like, no one's like standing out to me. And so obviously it didn't, because it was her all this time. Like, oh my gosh, that was wild. And so that is the final look, and that's the way the book ends. I hope you guys enjoyed watching and hearing the story because it was crazy. And then I'll see you back in my next video.